Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having my monthly session with the chairman of Caldwell Securities, Tom Caldwell. Tom, I had to cut you off there, but you were talking about, I asked the question about the lack of a recession, and you were starting to draw the connection with the U.S. economy. So please continue.
Well, that's holding us up for the time being. But like it or not, Canada is not experiencing the economic growth it should be experiencing. And you know, we're still a resource country. The Trans Mountain Pipeline may not get finished at some multiple of its original costs. And that will enable more energy to get out of Canada, our export markets. So you have that. We have not been able to bring on new mines for quite a period of time in Canada. So our basic core industries have had problems, and they've generally been inflicted problems, not markets or anything else, inflicted by governments or special interest groups, etc. But like it or not, we're still powering through this period of time. But the Canadian economy will slow over time. It will slow relative to other economies. We're the slowest growing economy, I think, in the G7. And because basically hostility to economic endeavor, if you will. And that's where we have to create jobs for these young people. And
Right.
Young people have trouble getting jobs at anything. So we really have to connect with the real plot, really what has to get done in this country. And we need growth. This is a young country with great potential, and we have to get a little bit more of that potential and be thinking in those terms.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this on the show before that, yes, our GDP is growing because we're having a massive amount of immigration to the country. So each additional person is consuming. So that means your country's GDP rises, but the per capita GDP, i.e., the amount of production per person is actually in decline right now.
Absolutely, because if you look at a lot of job creation, a lot of it are government jobs. I mean, if you look at the numbers, there's a massive amount of basically hiring civil servants, which is basically the party in power buying votes for themselves. So we're not really building on anything. As I've said many times, Canada is a wonderful country to start a business. It is not a great country in which to build a business, whether it be from taxation or whether it be regulation, or whether it be just a bias against business generally and a rapacious tax regime and tax collectors. I mean, taxes are consistently going up. We're very high in these areas. So sooner or later, we'll dip behind, and that will have an impact on people. It's an interesting statistic. I saw somewhere that something like 17% of the of the immigrants coming to Canada in the last 5 years have returned to their countries.
Yes, interesting.
That's really quite, and they're finding the cost of living is high, the housing is high, job opportunities may not be as high as they were hoping. So there is a return to many of these countries, and a lot of people who've lived here for many years, a lot return to Italy and Germany, etc., for opportunities. Now, political immigration is a slightly different matter. You're not going to back to some dictatorial regime,
Right.
etc. But it's quite interesting. Our position is slipping so unnoticeably because we're isolated, really just attached to the U.S. But our position is slipping in many fronts. And I think we need a little bit more to be activist and positive about the future as well, because we have tremendous potential. I think I think I use the phrase, if we did the right things in this country, it would be like popping a cork in a champagne bottle. The energy and possibilities, educated workforce that we have.
I got to ask you about one of the most recent controversies on Parliament Hill, which was the Environment Minister, Mr. Guilbeault, announcing that the federal government was no longer investing in large road projects because our road capacity is adequate for the future. Did you notice that comment? And if so, what was the reaction?
I can't give you my full reaction. What planet is he coming from? The problem we have, and I think the current government, is they're ideologues. These are people who know what is right for the rest of us. They have a mindset, and they're going to inflict it on people. I saw a funny thing here in Toronto. Our mayor, Olivia Chow, was on King Street, some time ago, and she was saying, look at these people driving on King Street. They shouldn't be driving on King Street. It's messing up everything. And she had a bunch of police with her. Okay, get that man, stop them. There's another one, get him. And I was thinking, if the citizenry is not really obeying your laws, it's not that they're bad people. Maybe
Yeah.
the laws are bad.